Hey everybody, Anthony here from Awesome Productions, and it's time for my last video talking about movies from 2023. This time I'm going to give you my top 10 horror movies of 2023. But before we get started, you know exactly what to do. At the end of the video, if I've earned it, please leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss any of my new content. Now let's get into it. Number 10. Thanksgiving. Eli Roth's horror masterpiece that fans have been waiting for years, with clever writing, strong suspense, awesome kills with practical blood and gore, and main characters that you actually want to root for, along with plenty of Roth's trademark irreverent dark humor to make this just a bloody fun time at the movies. Fans of the original fake Grindhouse trailer have waited for this for years, and it definitely paid off, and I cannot wait for the second one. Number 9. Sick of Myself. A vicious satire on vanity and fighting for attention in a relationship when you and your significant other are both kind of narcissistic, with a ton of black comedy and some glimpses of pretty strong and nasty body horror that makes this one French film that you cannot miss. I just really dug this movie, the message, the acting, the humor, everything about it, and I was fully engaged from beginning to end. Number 8. Infinity Pool. A mind of a psychological body horror film filled with gripping performances, especially from Alexander Skarsgård and a particularly depraved Mia Goth, and with how well she does in horror movies, that's saying something, and themes that have plenty to say about the rich and their hedonism when they know that they have no consequences, along with having something to say about colonial tourism that added up to a really strong, surreal experience that stuck with me long after the credits rolled. Number 7. Rebirth. A Frankensteinian story with poignant themes of motherhood, humanity, and how far a mother will go to save her daughter, along with the Jurassic Park theme of how much is too much when advancing science and technology, and finally, what it truly means to be alive. This is anchored by two truly great performances from Maren Ireland and Judy Reyes, and a tense tone that never lets up, especially once the movie hits a point of no return with the two main characters in the plot that left me with a pit in my stomach. Number 6. Evil Dead Rise. A return to the brutal craziness of the Evil Dead series with plenty of its trademark over-the-top kills and dark humor, anchored by a truly haunting performance from Alyssa Sutherland, squirm-inducing scenes of body horror, and like I said, plenty of over-the-top gore that make it a very strong entry in the franchise that will leave Evil Dead fans very satisfied and looking forward to the next one, like I am. Number 5. Skinnamarink. An experimental horror film on a micro budget that puts you right into a child's nightmare. Skinnamarink is definitely not for everyone, but it stuck the landing for me, using interesting cinematography and low-angled shots that put me directly into the shoes of these two children that are stuck in a hell that plays into so many fears that children have. I've watched this movie 6 times and it still captures me every single time. I wish I could have seen it in theaters. Number 4. Saw 10. A new era for this franchise begins here as we go back in time and make Tobin Bell's John Kramer not just the main character but an anti-hero, allowing for plenty of commentary on the state of medicine, insurance, and scammers, along with inventive, brutal traps, and the trademark Saw twists and turns and drama that fans have come to expect. I cannot wait for Saw 11. Number 3. Boses Afraid. Anxiety personified. This is an epic downer of a movie with an amazing performance from Joaquin Phoenix that has elements of drama, comedy, and horror. This is a movie that can go from laugh-out-loud hilarious to anxiety-inducing to straight-up disturbing, all within the same scene, and I really think that only Ari Aster would have been able to pull this off. The ending leaves a bit to be desired in my opinion, but in put in context of the themes of this movie, it makes sense. Number 2. Talk to Me. A tense, well-acted horror debut with incredible performances, cinematography, and visual effects, featuring a deep story to boot with allegories for drug addiction and themes of coping with loss, with some really great scares in there, making this another fantastic horror movie for A24 to add to their lineup. And number 1, my favorite horror movie of 2023, When Evil Lurks. A dark, and I mean dark, uniquely original Spanish horror film that does everything it can to break the rules and shock the audience without ever really going over the top, along with having a really strong sense of lore and world building that just drives you deeper into the story. This shocking experience stuck with me for a while and actually gave me nightmares, something that rarely ever happens for horror movies. Yet, I wanted to watch it again, and I have, like 3 times. And that's my top 10, but before we get out of here, I've got a few honorable mentions. Godzilla Minus One. Even though it's technically more of a drama instead of a horror movie, the scenes of Godzilla can be truly terrifying here, so I thought it deserved a mention. Megan. A genius story with plenty to say on the state of parenting, AI, and technology while providing tame scares, the occasional glimpse of gore, even more if you see the unrated edition, pretty funny dark humor, and great performances throughout. Influencer. A strong Shudder original that, though it has some frustrating moments in the story, is a pretty strong twist on social media influencer culture gone wrong. It Lives Inside. A blend of horror and Indian mythology that works more often than it doesn't, although when it doesn't work, it really doesn't work. It definitely could have used more of an edge, but I didn't hate it, and the creature design was pretty great. The Last Voyage of the Demeter. A mostly scary Dracula story that smartly removes a lot of the human elements of him to make him more of a monster, while telling a pretty strong bottle story, though it relies too much on horror cliches and has a sequel bait ending that threatens to derail the whole thing. Scream 6, though it still has some flaws in the writing and character development, and is completely ridiculous with how much characters can survive, this is a huge step up from the awful last one that definitely deserved a mention. Too bad the franchise is dead now. And lastly, Falcon Lake. The horror in this one is very subtle, but this is a great movie about young love that feels incredibly real and has a very eerie tone throughout, and it's hard not to be drawn in by it. And that's my top 10 horror movies of 2023. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, you know exactly what to do. Please leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss any of my new content. While you're at it, you can scroll down to the description, find the links to my social media, leave a comment, let me know what you thought were your favorite horror movies of 2023, and if you want more of my content, you can click or tap on these cards right here. They'll take you to my top 10 best movies of 2023 video, or just over to my channel where you can check out my reviews, my shorts, and my old shit. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time for my review of Night Swim. I know it's late, but man, do I have to talk about that movie.